Hi, Steve Cooper, Rank Success, and another short video for aspiring promotion candidates to Sergeant, Inspector and Chief Inspector in UK Police Forces. And I've called this video Incompetent Cops. So before you kind of get ruffled by that and confrontational, it's purely designed to kind of respectfully provoke your thinking at the moment in terms of where you are on your journey or your first steps of preparing, how you're thinking for promotion. So a state of incompetence is a good place to start and to recognise that, and it's certainly recognised in learning theory, and I just wanted to have a quick look at that today in terms of Kolb's learning cycle or Kolb's learning theory, and that's essentially around different stages of progression from incompetence through to competence. And you'll probably start recognise I'm using some of the language that you will have to get to terms with in terms of promotion selection processes. So they talk about competencies, being competent at the rank that you're going for, and achieving or showing potential for competence for the rank that you are aspiring to. So when it comes to achieving promotion, most cops start from a position, if they're honest, of incompetence, certainly before you start with the promotion selection process. And even if you've been through one before previously, then going through some reflection, acting on feedback helps you arrive at that starting position of incompetence, if you like, perhaps a little bit further down the line. And I'm going to go through a couple of those steps now. So the first step, as I've alluded to, is unconsciously incompetent. So you don't even know what you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know sounds a bit, why am I listening to this video, Steve? But you don't know what you don't know, and it's hard to put your finger on it. I'm going to go through a couple of successful candidates' experiences in a minute to try and reflect some of this from a starting position to a finishing position. So from aspiring as a candidate through to being successful as a candidate. So that first, recognising that first stage, that first step is, unconsciously incompetent. It's actually okay. It's okay to be there. It's okay to start there and to recognise that about yourself and to understand that about yourself, because not everybody walks around in a state of preparation for a promotion, and they certainly have, some people don't have a Scooby-Doo where to start. So we'll start there at that position, unconsciously incompetent. And then you move through a kind of a number of stages, 4 stages in total, to a next stage of being consciously incompetent. You know you don't know things, and you actually want to try and find them out and how to do them. So you know what you don't know. So I know I don't know about competencies. I know I don't know about the selection process that I'm going to face. And I know that I don't know certain things about myself. I haven't sat and talked through, to myself and been through and thought through my own values. I haven't thought about wider policing values, and I haven't thought about how those two things mesh together. And I certainly haven't practiced talking about them. So the first time I practiced talking about them is going to come out on my promotion board. And that's probably not the best place for it to do, for it to happen. Because some prior practice and preparation is going to make sure that one chance you do get on a board ensures that you know what you're saying and you are doing that with a degree of competence. So that consciously incompetent stage is the next one. So you're moving through to recognise there are things you don't know, and that's good because you can get set about finding them. And again, your time's valuable. When I talk about finding things to help you get there and move through these cycles of competence, my digital promotion toolkits will help you do that. There's a 4-hour downloadable video promotion masterclass with me suited and booted and talking about all things promotion on it. There's podcasts, there's free blogs on my site. So all of those things to help you get to understand some things and move through the stages of competence are available to you right now. The next stage in the three in the Kolb's learning cycle is being consciously competent. So you grow and you know, and it starts to show. So you start gathering and building momentum, gathering information, and you're thinking it through, you're working it through, and you are what I call, you're transforming, and you're putting yourself through a transformation process, not only through Kolb's learning cycle, but as a candidate from being incompetent through to competent. And that can take, I don't know, 3 weeks for some people, 3 months for others, and others just like to build in that cushion, given everything else that's going on in their lives and their work and their shifts and their leave and their family time, and they want to try and do it through 9 months a year, so preparing 9 months to a year in advance. So becoming consciously competent is important. You're moving through those stages, and you're starting to recognize that you're starting to understand the information. So you're starting to understand the CVF for starters. So if we're just talking about the CVF straight away, if you can't explain the CVF to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. And that's not me saying that, that's Einstein saying that. If you can't explain something to a 6-year-old, then you don't understand it yourself. So the CVF is important for you to read as part of becoming competent. And in a nutshell, it's 6 competencies, it's 4 values, and it's 1 level. And you probably say, no, it's not, Steve, it's 3 levels. It's not, it's 1. You're going to be assessed at 1 level, level 2 for sergeant, inspector, chief inspector. But I always put a caveat on that because some forces do use different levels to assess different questions. But essentially, you'll need to know about that. So trying to just think about the CVF as part of becoming competent. It's important. You need to read it. I've covered it in my own way, in my downloadable promotion guides and in my blogs, and add that to your own experience and understanding, and just raise your level of competence as part of your preparation. And the last stage really is unconsciously competent. You're unconsciously competent. And that means, to a certain extent, you don't even need to think about what you're doing. It's a bit like driving. For those of you that can drive, if you go from A to B on a daily basis driving to work, you can probably think about 100 other things while you're driving. You don't need to think about the act of driving because you are unconsciously competent at driving. So you've moved through those stages from being unconsciously incompetent. You don't even know what a car is other than there's people in it and their feet move up and down and there's a lever to shift the car. Then you go through to the next stage of having some driving lessons, and you start kangarooing down the road, a few jump starts. It's all very uncomfortable, but you're getting better, you're growing, you're learning, and then you become consciously competent, and you are moving through that phase of learning right through to the point where you don't need to think about things. So whilst you might not reach unconsciously competent in terms of being a promotion candidate, you can get as near as damn it to it, and you can get as near as you can to it. And by that, and I often say this to people, and I wouldn't suggest you say it for a minute, but walking into that promotion board and thinking to yourself, which of you panel members have got questions for my answers? I'm in such a state of preparation. I am so unconsciously competent, or I'm as near to that as I've ever been in my life. And I've done all this work. I've moved myself from this position of being unconsciously incompetent right through to being unconsciously competent. So again, that's just having a quick look at Kolb's learning theory, and to let you know that learning theory recognises where you're starting in terms of preparing for promotion. So the beautiful thing B.B. King says about learning is that nobody can take it away from you. So once you've learnt this stuff for a promotion board, it's relevant, it's topical, it's completely relevant to the role that you're going for, so you're not going to lose it. So it's valuable to keep doing it, and no one can take it away from you once you've done it. Another part of getting to being unconsciously competent is to understand how you learn. How do you learn? I'll often ask that in coaching to someone. Could you just tell me a little bit about how you learn best? Certainly if we're going to be looking at preparing over a period of time for a promotion selection process, certainly things like fast track, how do you learn? And often people have never even thought about that. And yet there are different ways of learning, and inherently people know it about themselves, but they can't always articulate it and say it. So, visually, seeing things, absorbing and retaining information that you've seen, and presented in images and charts or diagrams or graphics. Then there's auditory listening. People learn through listening. So responding best to voices and listening to podcasts and presentations or discussions. And already between those two things, you can see that from my digital toolkits, if you like to learn visually, you can see them through my blogs. That they've got colourful graphics, pictures, illustrations, and explanations. And then auditory, I've got a podcast. It's free. As I say, free blogs, free podcasts, and these free YouTube videos. So in terms of how you learn, I'm hopefully hitting some of those kind of areas where most people learn. And kinesthetic feeling is another way of learning. A hands-on approach. Some people are very, very practical around things, and they like to use props and touching and feeling. All aids the learning experience. Again, have a look at how you learn. Think about that. Understand it about yourself. A bit of self-awareness, and just overlap that and build that in with recognizing, how you are approaching this task. So I did say I'd have a quick look at a couple of experiences. This is just a quick snapshot at how some people have gone through that Kolb's learning cycle from the beginning and through to the end, and I'll just read them out very quickly to you, just to imagine when they started, and they're articulating that in their testimonials, and when they finish, when they're successful. So prior to the masterclass, I was very much focused on my own evidence and me. I didn't look beyond. The masterclass helped me look at the bigger picture, to think more about the organisation and how my focus should be about how my own experience fits into the needs of the police service. The masterclass completely changed how I looked at everything, and it was like the penny just dropped. And for me, that is manna from heaven. That's exactly what I want to do. I sit down with people, see where they are, see where they're at that starting position. And they may well be, consciously incompetent. So, they know what they don't know. Or they may even be consciously competent. They're actually growing and learning, and it's starting to show. But they just need that little bit of help, a little bit of support, just to get through to nearer to unconsciously competent, so that they can be the best they can on the day for a promotion opportunity or selection process, which is the name of the game. I applied for promotion 3 times with my own force, and I was unsuccessful each time. From wanting to give up and thinking it might not be for me, I attended the masterclass, the promotion masterclass, where I got to grips with how and what I needed to do. I tried one final time, and I applied for advertised inspector vacancies in 3 different forces. All had different processes. I was successful in each paper sift, and I was invited to interviews and assessment centres. The digital guides helped me prepare for my presentations, briefings and formal interviews, and I passed all 3 promotion boards, coming top in 2 of them, and going from 3 failures to a choice of 3 forces. I wish I could take all the positions offered to me, but I have to decide where my career is best suited. So something happened through that process to go from being unconsciously incompetent, or perhaps at a couple of the earlier stages, through to that unconsciously competent stage, or as near to it as possible, to have that degree of confidence to sail through all those processes. So what happened? I often call my masterclasses and processes what worked, or what works, because it does work for many people, but trying to find out where they are on Kolb's learning cycle is important, and trying to move them through the process is the aim. The final one, I'm confident and competent operationally, like lots of cops are, but nothing in policing has taught me about police promotion interviews or what the role of sergeant actually is. Without Steve's one-to-one session, I would have gone into my board without knowing these things. However, with this help and support, there were no surprises in my interview, and I was able to show with confidence that I absolutely knew what's expected of a sergeant. These key elements undoubtedly helped me pass my board at my first attempt. So just 2 or 3 insights there around the learning cycle that people go through. Not everybody moves themselves all the way through. and not everybody prepares for promotion with these kind of insights or understanding in mind. All of those things are covered in my promotion masterclass toolkits, and before you spend a penny, so to say, there's lots of free stuff around, so free blogs and free podcasts. And if you're preparing for promotion and you've got the opportunity ahead, I wish you all the very best, and stay safe, and I'll be back with another video shortly. Thank you.